Welcome back to Helene Frances in Hollywood. Today we're going to review a wonderful movie called The Darkest Hours. Now this is the story of Winston Churchill, Prime Minister of Great Britain, but when he first took office, and the timing was about 8 months after World War II had started. They just ousted the Prime Minister Chamberlain, and Winston Churchill was not 100% wanted for this position. So when he got the job, there was a lot of opposition, and even King Edward VI wasn't that thrilled. Churchill had to prove himself, and he was very strong-willed. And what happened was they were having the Battle of Dunkirk, and 3,000 British soldiers were going to be annihilated by Hitler's men if they did not evacuate the beaches. But unfortunately, there wasn't enough British big ships to come and save them. So Winston Churchill, played by Gary Oldman, who is phenomenal in the role, got a wonderful idea, and he contacted the BBC and he said, I want you to get on the radio and ask anyone if they have a yacht, if they have a motorboat, if they have a large rowboat. We need the civilians to help. We need the civilians to go to Dunkirk and help evacuate our men. And it worked. They actually saved everybody except 30 men. And this was phenomenal. And in the middle of the night, King Edward came to visit Winston Churchill. And Churchill's wife, played by Kristen Scott Thomas, is wonderful also in her role. And she comes in and wakes up Churchill and says, you have a visitor. And he's so surprised that the king is there. And the king does a major turnaround and now is supporting Winston Churchill. And the other problem that they were having was that Churchill wanted to fight Hitler and not compromise and not have a meeting with him because he didn't trust him. And he felt if they negotiated a peace, Hitler would spoil that too. And the opposition didn't want that. But once the Battle of Dunkirk was wonderfully saved by the civilians, everybody agreed that Churchill did the right thing. He made a wonderful announcement, but before he did this, he actually took a British underground subway himself and drove to Westminster Abbey and interviewed the people on the train. And he said, do you want me to negotiate a peace talk with Adolf Hitler, or should we fight? And they all said, fight. Don't give in to that creep. We're not giving up. We're going to fight. And that's where he got inspiration from the people, the common people of Great Britain. And the scene is so touching that it brought a tear to my eye, because you just get really inspired and you know the British people are not going to give in. And then he got on the radio while he was talking in front of the British Council. Now remember, at this point, all of them weren't for him. But he got on and he was so strong and he said, we shall fight for our land, we shall fight for our streets, we shall fight for our channels and our beaches, we shall fight, fight, fight. And then everybody just gave a big roar and they loved him, and everyone, even the opposition, they were taking their handkerchiefs and throwing it in the air, and they just loved him. And that's how he became very, very loved, and the beginning of his popularity. And he was wonderful. Now, Gary Oldman is amazing in this role. And after the private screening, I had an opportunity to hear Gary talk. Do you know that it took 4 hours for him to get into makeup? Not only did he have facial prosthetics, but he had to wear a fat suit too. And he studied for 8 months. He said he was listening to Churchill speaking. And all these tapes, he absolutely became the character. And he said that his own wife would look at him and say, Gary, are you Gary? Are you Churchill? Because he was so into the part. Also, the great-great-grandson of Winston Churchill was at the question and answer, the Q&A, and he said that Gary amazed him. Now, I predict that Gary's going to be nominated for an Oscar, a SAG Award, and I heard he was just nominated for a Golden Globe, and I think he has a pretty good chance of winning maybe all the awards. He was wonderful. On my scale, 5 hearts being the best, this movie gets all 5. Catch it. I know you're going to love it. This is Helene Frances in Hollywood. And if you like this review, subscribe to my channel so you can hear more and you'll be the first to find out what's going on in Hollywood. Have a great day.
My friends tell me